Hey there, boys and girls. Yes, this was the incredible Ken Bedene from ABORTED, an incredible drummer, one of the greatest death metal drummers, extreme metal drummers out there. And that was filmed during the Terrorvision recording session in 2018 here at Kohlekeller studio. So that was before the pandemic. Yeah, when he could still come here. So hello to California. Hello, Ken. Whatever, I just found this footage. I think we planned to do a playthrough video back then, but for some reason it never happened. So let's do that now. I will actually edit two videos. One normal playthrough that will be released on the Century Media YouTube channel, and this video where you will also see me walking you through those tracks, showing you what I did to those tracks, and you will see Ken playing and also talking, because we also did a little interview with him. Let's start with Ken doing what he does best. Let's do some oofta oofta. Here we go.
So we came back to Kohlekeller Studios because we really love the vibe here, and all the stuff that we've done here since the Termination Redux album, or the EP, sorry, has just sounded outstanding, and we love working with, Kohle. So, alright, so on Terrorvision, I, finally get the chance to record my Sakai Almighty Birch set. I love this freaking thing. It probably has the coolest finish too, cotton candy. How can you go wrong with that? I mean, everybody knows it's me when they see this kit. No one else has this really that's in death metal. That's just out of this world. Amazing drums. Company's awesome. Everything about it, I'm very happy to be a part of that company. I used 8, 10, 12, 14 and 16 tom setup, 14 by 6.5 I think, and that's brass snare. Sounds freaking awesome. And then we just used the 120-inch kick with the double pedal. Normally I have the 2 kicks, but since it's recording and there's a trigger, I can just run with the 1. Then we have Zildjian cymbals, 2 crashes, 2 chinas, 2 splashes, hi-hat, ride, all the Dark customs, and A custom ping ride that I've used on every single album. That's probably my signature ride, even though I don't have a signature ride, but that's the one that's on every recording that I've ever done. Some very nice Bickford sticks, 5As with the nylon tip. Very, very sexy. And the Axis regular longboards with the E-kits, and I have the trick beaters, which not many people know about, which they should buy because they're very nice and they're aluminum, so they're a little more lightweight and you don't have to deal with the weight of a beater if you don't want it.
So let's have a look at the drum tracks. And what I want you to learn, what I want you to take away is that the most important thing is that the drums sound great in the room. The most important part is what happens in front of the microphone. I'm not saying the mics are not important or something, but make sure the drum kit sounds great. Make sure it is tuned and it sounds right for whatever style of music you record. Make sure the drummer hits it right. Make sure you have using the right cymbals. Make sure you try a lot of things to make things sound great and balanced, because that will save you a lot of time later, because you need way less processing in the mix. It will just make your life a lot easier. I can't stress that enough, because I have the feeling that these days people rely on using drum replacement and samples a lot, and yeah, instead of doing that, we spend a lot of time doing a proper sound check, and that's why these tracks sound pretty nice. So here you can see the tracks. We have quite some audio tracks and one MIDI track. That is the kick, because Ken is triggering his kick. There's no microphone. He's triggering his kick live and in the studio. So there's just MIDI. Let's have a listen to the whole drum kit. It sounds like this. And this is pretty close to the sound we have on the record. There's no automation right now, and the tracks need a little more fine-tuning maybe, but it was a good compromise between sounding like natural and powerful, if you ask me. Let's have a look at the tracks. So let's check the overheads first. With the overheads, it's really, really important for me to have the main crashes balanced left and right, to have the snare in the middle, and to cover as many cymbals as possible. And then I add the other close mics. That might take some time. I will explain this in a drum course I'm filming next week in detail, but this means that you don't need a lot of processing on the overheads. Let's have a listen. So there's only a low cut and a high shelf. That's not much, right? That's all I need here. The compressor is bypassed. Then all the cymbals, all the cymbal tracks are going into this group where there's another EQ, like fine tuning the highs here a little bit, like taking out something around 2.5K, where my room sounds a little nasty, and then boosting something here. But those are just small changes. Then we have on the cymbal bus, a very extreme sounding compressor, but it's only mixed in very slightly. Let's have a listen. It's only mixed in very slightly. Let me just turn it on full power. So that is too extreme. So I'm just mixing in a touch of this to bring up the details, you know, in this dense metal mix. Finally, an instance of soothe to remove some of the nasty resonances, but not a lot of processing. Then we have a few additional close mics. So we have the hi-hat mic. What's happening here? Just a low cut. So this microphone basically gives the hi-hat a more precise position in the stereo image. Not very loud because it's not needed. Then we have the ride track. On the ride, I am probably boosting the main resonant frequency. You can see that here. The ride is also like, you can see that here. It's also like cut. So it's only, the track is only playing when he actually hits the ride. So with this EQ, I'm just trying to bring the ride a lot more to the front, make it sound in your face. Let's have a listen, overhead and ride. That microphone is actually important because otherwise the ride sounds too distant. We have another ride mic. I don't even know if he's playing the other ride in this song. Let's skip that one. Then we have a China microphone, also important. Sounds like this. And same treatment here, right? Just boosting some of the higher frequencies here. It's around 5K, making sure, you know, it sits right. And all those microphones go into that group together with a room track we have here. So I'm low cutting this track a little bit, and I'm again taking out something around 2.5K to make it sound a little nicer. And of course we need compression for this track. You know how much I love room mics, but for a fast death metal track like this, they're not that important. All right, let's have a listen to all the cymbals. They sound like this. Nice. Let's have a look at the snare. got a little more processing here. So this is the main snare track. What have we got here? First, we're using debleeder, and this is to get rid of the bleed. Let's just choose something more slow, somewhere maybe here. Let's turn off the other plugins and let's listen without debleeder. And with debleeder. So this gates the track and gets rid of all those annoying cymbals. Very powerful plugin. Next plugin is an EQ. Boosting some of the attack here. I'm not going too high because I don't want to boost the cymbals. Taking out some of the woody, 500 honk 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 frequencies. But not a lot. And finally, a plugin I did not use on the actual mix 2 years ago because I did not have it back then, is Drum Leveler, and this is so powerful because it's like an automatic volume compensation all the time, so it makes sure all the snare hits are more consistent. So you see it's boosting all those yellow snares, and here it's not doing anything, so it's some sort of compression, but it's just like having an assistant riding the fader all the time. So this plugin makes sure, the snare level is a lot more consistent. Then we have another snare track, sounds like this. Bottom mic, not a lot going on there. Debleeder as well. What else? Yeah, both those tracks are going into a snare group. There's another EQ doing the same thing again, taking out some woody frequencies around 500, boosting the fundamentals 2 dB, and adding some bite around 4K. But no magic. Finally, I wanted the snare to sound a little more ambient. So Ken gave me some single hits, and I just used the overhead tracks and the room tracks to create some room and overhead samples. And I mixed them in. So no direct samples, because the attack was okay, but I'm using this. I have a MIDI track here, triggering, you can see that, with different velocities. I'm triggering his own samples. But again, this is just to make the snare sound a little more roomy. That makes it sound a little more sexy. Let's have a listen to all 3 snare tracks. So this is with the sample and without. So you see the main attack is coming from the acoustic tracks, and this is giving the snare a lot more depth. It's actually more like a reverb. It's like a reverb. Talking about reverb, there's a reverb on the entire kit. Let me just play everything again. Let me boost the reverb. But it's very quiet. So I'm just trying to make things a little wider, a little bigger. I'm adding a reverb. It's Altiverb, by the way. Adding this to the entire kit. Okay, let's have a final look at the toms. So there's an EQ on the first tom, removing something around 500. 500 is your enemy on metal drums. Anything, remove 500. It's that woody. It's the opposite of brutal. That frequency. Next tom, you see, now it's 600, but I'm not doing a lot here. Next tom, okay, here we have a presence boost or something, or a mid boost around 2.5K. Let's listen to the First two toms sound like this. Pretty nice. We have a tom group. What are we doing here? All right, so we're once again removing 400 something, and we have, what is this? I don't even know. Is this a compressor or something? I don't remember what this is doing, to be honest. This is a Joel Wanasek, whatever. Maybe a compressor or an enhancer. I don't know. You see, I'm really prepared. But this is interesting. This is very important for the tom sound because this thing is a dynamic EQ, and it is boosting the highs whenever the toms go over a certain level. So whenever it hits the toms, it's adding highs, and when it's not hitting the toms after the attack, the highs are being removed. It looks and sounds like this. Interesting, right? So that is very effective because you add attack, you add presence to your toms, but you don't make the bleed of the cymbals louder. So let's have a look at the master bus of the drums. I think there's some things going on here. This time I'm not using a hardware compressor, I'm actually using a software compressor. This is a precision compressor from Universal Audio, but it's like working very, very gently in a parallel compression mode. You see it's compressing up to 6 dB, which sounds a lot, but it's the auto mode, and the attack is pretty slow with 3 milliseconds. So it's just, you know, smoothing out stuff. It's not too extreme. I still think my hardware SSL compressor sounds better than this one. This isn't very punchy. Why didn't I use it? I don't know. But on the real album, I used my green hardware compressor over there. This tool is just making the drums a little more narrow, going to something like 90%. I guess to leave some space at the left and the right for the guitars. And finally, we have an instance of Ozone. What is this doing? Here we go. So we have an EQ. Yeah, removing, yeah, what is it? Around 400. Adding some highs. Let's have a listen. Basically making things sound a little more hi-fi. We have an exciter even going on, boosting the upper mids. That really helps to make the drums, you know, pop out of the mix. Let's have a listen. Subtle but effective. And finally we have a limiter here, but I think I just used that for the video, so we get the right loudness. That's not really important. So that was my little overview of those drum tracks. You see, pretty natural. That also works in death metal. Of course, in a final mix they need a little more processing depending on how loud you want the drums, depending on how the guitars sound, and you need some automation. Of course, you need some automation to make them work. But for this video, this was the mix I used, and you see, if you take care of things right from the start, you can be more lazy later in the mixdown. So let's have another listen to Ken playing, because it sounds even better if you see that guy. What a fantastic drummer, and it sounds great. I love working with that guy. Whatever. This is all for today. So if you want me to talk more about drums, if you have questions, if you want me to talk about drums, drum tuning, cymbals, shells, drum editing, mixing drums, whatever, let me know in the comments, please. As you might know, next week I'm filming a drum course where I basically describe how I, like the principles, how I record drums. And that will be a part of my upcoming academy, the Kohle Audio Cult. So if you like what you're seeing here on YouTube, and if you want to be taught a lot more magic recording tricks by me, you better join my email list, because yeah, those guys will be the first to know when the Kohle Audio Cult is coming. If you join there, you also get that free IR. You still get that free IR, that throaty savage IR, which is a great combination of modern and kind of dirty, throaty sounding. A lot of people love that IR, and a lot of people are actually using it on their records right now, which makes me happy. So grab that IR, make some dirty music, let me know what you want to see in the future in these videos, especially the drum content. Check out my socials. Don't forget to ring the bell on this channel and to subscribe to this channel. I see you in hell, motherfuckers. Bye bye. Good night. I love you all.
Hey guys, this is Ken Bedene.